Yes, I know it's been a while since I last uploaded, and my excuse is that it is still a secondary channel to my main one. Anyways, I won't hold you guys too long with a bunch of explanations you don't want to hear. Instead, I'm just going to get on with the what if. Now, ever since the incident with Sasuke, the villagers did leave him alone. It was now a very different situation for Naruto. People were scared of Naruto now, even more than before, and no one wanted to mess with him. He didn't lash out as much as he used to because of that. He was less of a problem child, but he was still one nonetheless. Now, Danzo would be interested in Naruto. He was trying to figure out a good time to induct Naruto into the Anbu, but he was struggling to figure a way that he could see Hiruzen granting consent to it. He despised the man, his words were always final. He would watch Naruto from the shadows though. He paid close attention to the boy as he developed. Naruto would have a sense that he was being watched sometimes, but when he looked around, he wouldn't see anyone. He would assume it was all in his mind, and it was probably because of his years fighting the villagers that he felt someone staring at him. Well, it felt like there were more than one pair of eyes watching him. Truth be told though, he wasn't wrong. Besides Danzo watching movements, whenever the man himself couldn't stop Naruto, he would send out a couple of his Anbu members to document Naruto's actions, monitor his progress. Outside the Anbu, the little Hinata would watch Naruto. At first, she was kind of scared of Naruto. His violent outlashes were really impressionable after all. She was getting bullied by a couple of other kids within the village though for her status one day though. She was too weak and fragile-minded to fight back against them. When she heard Naruto's voice, her fear only increased. She was scared of what he would do to her, but to her shock the boy actually fought back against the beast. He hadn't unlocked his bloodline limit at the time though, so the scene wasn't as bloody. Something Hinata was always impressed by was Naruto's sheer natural strength. He fought all three of the boys to a pulp. They tried to restrain Naruto, but he was easily able to shake them off and headbutted one of them in the gut. He would grab the one who tried to restrain him by the head and fling him to a tree. He put his foot on top of one of the kids' back and looked over to Hinata, telling her to get out of there, as he didn't want her to get hurt. He didn't want to hurt her after all. She would see the boys the very next day, but they were in terrible condition. When they would look at her, they'd immediately scatter. She assumed this was Naruto's doing. Ever since then, she'd seen Naruto in a completely different light, and even began to develop a bit of a crush on the boy. Naruto didn't know about this, so what the boy was really focused on right now was passing the graduation exam. He failed at making clones again, which aggravated Naruto. Mizuki would approach Naruto and offer him a proposition. If he could steal the scroll of sealing, he would graduate him immediately. He lied and said it was a secret alternative test. Naruto still wasn't smart even in this timeline, and fell for Mizuki's lie. He accepted the deal and would end up successfully thieving the scroll. He waited for Mizuki to show up. He waited patiently, but eventually get bored. He would read from the scroll ceiling for a while and end up learning the Shadow Clone Jutsu, his most signature jutsu. When Mizuki did arrive, he acted just like any other villager. He was hostile towards Naruto, and perhaps the reason why the villagers had such a huge disdain towards the boy. It was because of the fact he was the Nine-Tailed Jinchuriki. It was because he held a nine-tailed fox, the demon fox, with himself, that the villagers hated him, and the whole thing about stealing the scroll to graduate, yeah, that was a lie. He demanded for Naruto to give him the scroll, though Iruka would make it in time to witness the interaction. He tried to stop Mizuki from disclosing the information about the Nine Tails, but it was too late. Naruto was in a state of shock and anger, shock from the discovery of the fact he was hostile beast, and anger from being lied to. He was frozen in place. Mizuki assumed it was fear and found that it was his best opportunity to end the Nine Tails. He grabbed a large shuriken and hurled it at Naruto. Iruka would seize the shuriken and push Naruto away from the incoming attack. Unfortunately, he took the brunt of damage in Naruto's place. Iruka would smile at Naruto weakly as he wasn't sure if he would even make it out alive. If he died tonight, he would want Naruto to see him die with a smile, though. Naruto's anger began to consume him now. He busted out his bloodline limit, his bone claws, and looked up at Mizuki. The man wasn't intimidated in the slightest by Naruto's Kekigenkai. He viewed it as an incredibly weak and that it was only useful in close combat. His regenerative factor was the only thing that impressed Mizuki. He actually desired to have that healing factor of Naruto's. That was the only thing he was really jealous of. He knew Naruto was going to probably be harder to kill, but it was still doable. He would simply have to go for the head. What Mizuki wasn't planning for, though, would be for Naruto to actually learn the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Suddenly, hundreds of Shadow Clones would appear surrounding Mizuki. The man looked around and felt his heart skip a beat. He began to sweat. He almost peed himself when he saw the bone claws pop out their knuckles as well. All of the clones immediately went on the offensive and tore Mizuki to shreds. By the time they were done, you would barely be able to recognize the man. Naruto immediately take Iruka to an infirmary right afterwards. Iruka saw what Naruto did back there with his Shadow clones, so he was impressed by Naruto and ended up allowing the boy to graduate. He was officially a genin and received a headband from Iruka. Naruto grinned from ear to ear when he finally earned his headband. The next thing to happen for Naruto would be his placement for teams. He ended up getting placed in Team 7 with Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno. Now, Sasuke knew that Naruto wasn't someone to be taken lightly, and so did Sakura, so they wouldn't really act the same as in canon. When they found out they would be in the same team as Naruto, they stayed quiet, and Naruto complained about being on the same team with those boys. After all, Naruto doesn't have a crush on Sakura here, aka useless. Everyone else ended up meeting their senseis, but 7, they were the only ones still waiting. An hour passed before the Jonin, Kakashi Hatake, showed up, saying something about getting lost on the path of life. No one on Team 7 accepted that poor excuse. He also said right off the bat that he didn't like any of them. Naruto unsheathed his claws, hearing that. Sasuke and Sakura took one step away from Naruto, seeing this. This intrigued Kakashi, though. It reminded him of his late master, Minato Namikaze. Appearance-wise, Naruto really did take after him. He even had his Kekigenkai. He wanted to test out how strong the boy was, but before he could do that, he needed to know their goals in life. Well, since we'll have to be working as a team for a good while, it's only natural that we get to know each other. What are your interests like? What are your goals, your likes and dislikes? Kakashi asked. Sasuke and Sakura would have similar answers like in canon, except Sakura wouldn't mention disliking Naruto. Instead, she would just glance over to Naruto when she brought up dislikes. Naruto didn't care and just ignored her. Naruto's answer would be slightly different here. Sure, He wanted to become Hokage, but he also mentioned wanting to be able to become more emotionally stable. He acknowledged that his outbursts were an issue that he was dealing with for most of his life. Kakashi nodded and applauded Naruto for even being able to admit that was a problem. Afterwards, he would suggest for them to not eat anything because the training they'd be the next day would be so rigorous it would make them throw up any contents that were left within their stomachs. Naruto wasn't the type to listen to other people's advice though, and would eat despite Kakashi's warning. Kakashi would be able to tell when he saw Naruto's condition compared to his teammates who didn't eat a thing. Kakashi would tisk and inform them of the bell test. Most of the things would go pretty similar to in canon. Yeah, that's a psych moment right there. Nah, this is Wolverine Naruto, everything changes. What ends up happening is that Sakura would literally do everything she did in canon, but in terms of Naruto, he's stronger and faster than he was in the original timeline. What he did is try to rush Kakashi. Now obviously Naruto wouldn't be fast enough to keep up with Kakashi on his own, but that wasn't his intention. He knew that if he couldn't take him down in pure speed and strength, then he'd use numbers against Kakashi. He would hope to fight the man, but Kakashi wasn't a famed shinobi for nothing. He was able to easily escape Naruto's barrage of shadow clones, but they swarmed even after escaping once. The second time, it wasn't so easy. Naruto would leap in from his group of shadow clones and pop out his claws in order to get a longer reach towards the bells. What's shocking is that this actually works. He managed to actually retrieve the bells by using his claws at the last second for a greater reach. This was after Kakashi successfully subdued both Sakura and Sasuke. This was the first time someone was able to win in the bell test by actually getting the bells. He admitted to Naruto that no one had actually managed to get the bells before, and that he passed the bell test. The only issue was with Sasuke and Sakura. He gave them another chance in which they had to work together in order to get bells while Naruto stood out. Things went pretty for the duo though. One was, after all, doing all the work while the other was a bit of an anchor. You could easily tell who I'm referring to here. Naruto couldn't take the pistol battle anymore and ended up joining in, which caught Kakashi off guard. The first thing Naruto did was land a gut punch on Kakashi. His eyes would widen in shock and pain. The strength behind that punch was unexpected. He would reel back and fall to the ground. But he would give a thumbs up to Team 7, saying that they passed, although he said it in between grunts. When he was in bad condition, he would explain the meaning of the test, and they did a decent enough job of teamwork for him to say that they passed. Some time passed, and Team 7 grew bored with the missions they were being given. After all, they were all basically retrieving a cat or helping the villagers throughout their regular mundane daily activities. They confronted Hiruzen about this issue, and the man admitted that they didn't seem ready for higher grade missions. He'd give them a steep mission to escort Tazuna, the bridge builder, to the Land of Waves. It seemed easy enough, but Team 7 would have no idea what would be in store for them during this mission. That's basically all that I have for right now. Just remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. That's all I have to really say. Nova Titan out. Also, subscribe to my main channel, King Titan X. I'm trying to get 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm at least like around 930 subscribers right now on that channel. So I've just been grinding for a 1,000 subscribers for right now. That's why I've been so inactive on this channel. And yeah, that's my explanation. That's all I have to really say. Also, let me know like what else do you want me to do in the future. I'm going to also do some One Piece and Black Clover what if soon enough. I guess.